to the Windrush Foundation's Windrush 75 commemorations. I'm here with Jennifer Braithwaite. I'm very pleased to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about yourself and the Windrush 75 education resource. So I'm going to jump in straight away and ask you, could you tell me a little bit about your history and in education, but also a little bit about your family? So where's your family from?
I'm Guyanese. I was born in Guyana many years ago. I came here as a 14-year-old, which was a shock to me because things were so different here as to what I was used to in Guyana. Oh, yeah.
And so when you got here, were you in London? Were you in different parts of the UK? Was it just London?
My family came to London because my late father, he had lived here since 1962. And my mother, my late mother, my brother and myself came over in 1972, July 1972. It was bitterly cold. As far as I can remember.
And so, if you arrived at that point, were your family in education?
My mother was a district nurse in Guyana, a district nurse, health visitor, everything. We lived in the country, so she had to do everything.
Understandable.
Yes. But no, I always wanted to be a teacher, strangely enough, from the time I can remember starting school, and I started school at 3, kindergarten school. I always wanted to be a teacher. I wonder why.
So were you supported when you went to school? And did you say you wanted to be a teacher? And how did that process work its way through your life?
Well, my mother and my grandmother, who lived with us at the time, they were very supportive of the education of both myself and my brother, as we moved from village to village after a stint of about 3 or 5 years. They were always supportive of us, and school was always fun.
So is that here, or
No,
I'm
it wasn't
presuming
fun here. It was fun. It was the very opposite of
I thought I would have
fun.
just established that, because it sounded like village to village. That doesn't sound like here at all. So when you came here, though, when you were that age, and then, so how different was that?
Well, I must say, I hated it. I hated it because I'd never been used to being in a village. You get used to people in a village, a small time. And here, they were so different. There was name calling, shunning, all sorts of unpleasant things. And above everything else, teachers in those days thought that children from the Caribbean must have been less than educationally bright, because I was immediately relegated to the lower streams, even though I was able to read from the time I was 3. Still, they asked me to do a reading test, which I did very well, but made no difference. I still ended up in the lower streams for everything.
So can I ask you then, because I know this is a very tough conversation for like a lot of people in regards to how they were treated, whether it's from other students at the time as well as the teachers in the educational system. So what is it about you? Because you seem very special in the sense that despite having the talent, despite having the skill, and having that pressure of being treated really badly, you still made it through. You still went into education, and you still came out on top, I would say. So can you tell me a little bit about that process? So with that pressure and that kind of treatment, what is it about you that made the difference, do you feel?
I'm a very determined Taurian woman, and I was determined from the time I was very young that I would be a teacher come what may. I've done other things. I've enjoyed being a retail assistant. That was fun. But I always knew at the back of my mind, that I had to become a teacher. And I was very pleased that I succeeded. It wasn't easy. Where I trained, I had disagreements with them as to what diversity and multicultural education was about. But I still managed to
Surpass.
come out as a teacher, you know, so they must have been very patient with me.
So can I say, so what are your traits that pushed you through? I need to ask this.
Grim determination.
But say, for example, other people, they were, you know, weighed down by this stuff. So what is it about you that made the difference? I'm asking this because a lot of people, you know, didn't make it, and you did.
I think I'm going to say this off the record. I think I'm a bit on the far side that I'm quirky, and people just got to accept that I'm quirky. You're not never going to have a straight-laced person in me. No, it's not me. I'm quirky. I'm determined. I can. Some people say that they get bored easily. I've never been bored. You know, there's always something going on in my head. So I was determined that I would do this, that, and other things, but this is my main focus. And I love reading. Don't do it as much as I should at the moment, but I loved reading as a child. You know, anything that came to hand, I'd read.
So then I'm going to jump a little bit. So Arthur Torrington from the Windrush Foundation, he has enlisted you to look at the education resource for Windrush 75. And so can you tell me a little bit about that process? And could you tell me a little bit about the resource as well?
Right. Well, I'm very pleased that Arthur chose me of all people. I met Arthur many years ago. He was curating an exhibition at CSEP, which is a place that even though I have retired, I'm semi-retired really, I still work for CSEP as a teacher volunteer. And Arthur did an exhibition about emancipation there many, many years ago. So Arthur remembered me from then, and he was also our mentor when myself and some colleagues did a project on First World War service personnel. So I suppose for Arthur, thought I would be a good person to enlist to have a look at the resources, the education resources. And the first one I looked at was a couple of years ago. And the more recent one, last year, I remember last year, Arthur ringing me and telling me about the grant. He'd also sent me an email to tell me about no, it wasn't a grant, it's a lottery, Heritage Lottery funding award of however much it was, but he said that he intended to use some of it for educational purposes. I was very pleased about that. Then he told me about the Sam King essay writing competition, and I received some of the winners' scripts, some of the winners' essays. I was very pleased with that because I looked at them and I thought, wow, you must have done quite a lot of research, which is something that I enjoy doing anyway, in order to produce the quality of the work that they had produced. On top of that, Arthur asked me to accompany him to the schools in order to meet the students, the winners, and present them with their trophies. And that was quite an eye-opener.
Fantastic.
Yes.
That's like a whole lot of things there. Yeah. So can I, just to drill down a little bit, could you tell me more about specifically the education pack, what's in it, where you see it going, and the development of it, specifically of what's being kind of asked of you, if that's okay?
Oh, thank you. Well, I am very pleased with the pack because one of the things, I have worked with children pupils really, year 7 on the life of Samuel Beaver King. We did that a couple of years ago, and I thought, oh my goodness, if only this guide was there, I would have had less work to do as such, but you know, it doesn't matter. Now, the guide itself, I'm very pleased with it. It's very teacher-friendly, it's pupil-friendly. There's a thread that's running through, so you can see the progression as you move from lesson 1 to lesson 2 to lesson 3. Even though the titles of the lessons are different, the student is gaining knowledge in a particular way. So they're building on their knowledge, they're building on their skills, and I think that's what education is all about. is utilizing what you have to work out situations and then gaining more knowledge from that. So yes.
And just so I know, you've got the Sam King book, which is the reader.
Yes.
And then you've got the Sam King resource. So, and what age is it for, and what key stage is it for?
Right. I've had a look at the entire upper Key Stage 2 resource. I've flicked through the book. I've also looked at the original book, the autobiography by the late Sam King, The Rough Side of a Mountain. I thought that was fantastic, and that was used quite a lot in this resource to create the resource, so I could understand that. I think that it says upper Key Stage 2, and for me, a student would already need to have certain skills in order to access what they're being asked to do here. I would hope that in lower Key Stage 2, they would have begun to explore some of those skills, such as the reading maps, finding where places are in the world. Where, for instance, is Jamaica? Where is Jamaica? Where do you think Jamaica is? Oh, let's have a look. Let's have a look at a map. What's a map for? Those sort of skills that I would assume or hope that they would have already experienced those skills or gained those skills in lower Key Stage 2. So that now you can say, okay, you know where Jamaica is. Let's look specifically at where Jamaica is in relation to another country in the Caribbean.
So can I ask, because I know that time is short, but there's so much we could say about the education resource. I know we've got a little bit of background about yourself. So with this education, who do you think it's aimed at, and who would you like to see have it? So yes.
I would like every single school to have access to the resource, because even though the resource is about the story is about a specific person, the specific person can be anyone. So the skills that they would gain and the knowledge that they would gain, they're transferable skills, and they can be used to research another person.
Fantastic.
So, yes. I would like to have it as well.
I know, I would like to have that. So I would just want to say thank you very much, and I'm very glad that you're using all of your experience to put into the education resource, and I know it's going to be fabulous, and I know the Windrush Foundation and Arthur Torrington and all the directors, they're going to be really pleased when it's all completed, and it's going to be ready very, very soon. But I know with having people like yourself, Mrs. Jennifer Braithwaite, on board to actually take care of all those kind of details and make sure it's gone through that rigorous approach. We want to say thank you for doing this interview, and thank you for being supportive of the Windrush Foundation, and thank you for actually doing the hard work of putting the education resource. And I just want to say thank you to all the audience members who are actually looking at this series of talks. I'm part of the Windrush Foundation team, and again, we hope to see you soon.